Okay then, in this video we will discuss the advantages and benefits of cloud computing, which will also help us better understand cloud computing. Well, there are many advantages of cloud computing, but there are 6 main advantages which we need to know because they are frequently asked in the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. Furthermore, I would like to point out that they are true for cloud computing in general. So these are not advantages of Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Engine, etc., etc. All right. So one more thing, these are 6 advantages of cloud computing over the traditional approach. By traditional approach, I mean on-premises infrastructure or a dedicated server, which we saw in the previous video. All right. So now let's start. So the first one is trade capital expense for variable expense. So which means you pay only for the IT resource you use. Because in a traditional approach, like in on-premises or in a dedicated server, you have to pay for the fixed capacity. In other words, whether you use that fixed capacity or no, you have to pay for it. All right. So let me show that one. So for instance, in here, we have a website, so leaseweb.com. If you go there and then under products, so you can go to the dedicated server. And then it will provide you all the available dedicated servers. So in this case, it's a servers located in the Netherlands. In other words, data center is located in the Netherlands. So for instance, I can buy this server or just rent this one. All right. So this server has 2 CPUs, 8 cores, 64 gigabytes of RAM, etc., etc. So, and whether I use this or no, I have to pay for this server, right? Because it's fixed capacity server. But in the case of cloud computing, if I don't need that much capacity, I can get the server which has the lowest capacity or the capacity that I need. That means I only use I only pay for what I use. So if I need more capacity, then I can get better server with more capacity, and I will pay for that one. All right. So now let's go back to our presentation. So the second one is stop guessing capacity. All right. So in many cases, you might not know how much capacity you need. So with cloud computing, you can easily grow or shrink your IT resources without lock-in contracts. So they are not long-term contracts. So in general, you don't have any contract. So you pay only for what you use. All right. So that means cloud computing, in the cloud computing, you can for instance launch 2 servers today for 2 hours. You can use them, and tomorrow you may stop both of them, and you pay for what you have used, in this case for 2 hours. All right. So then the third one is stop spending money on running and maintaining data centers. With cloud computing, you don't need to worry about the infrastructure. In other words, you don't need to worry about the hardware. Cloud computing providers will take care of that. So the next one, or fourth advantage, is benefit from massive economies of scale. You know, cloud computing providers usually buy everything in bulk. For instance, if it is hardware related to storage, they buy lots of them, and they have lots of customers. That's why it usually results in lower prices than you get on your own. All right. So then the fifth advantage is increase speed and agility. In cloud computing, new IT resources can be launched with several clicks. This means if developers need new IT resources for their experiments or for developments, they can get them in a few minutes. That's why it results in a dramatic increase in agility. All right. So then we have the last one. So go global in minutes. So in cloud computing or cloud computing providers, they have data centers in many parts of the world. All right. So let me explain this one with an example using a map. For that, I will use the official website of the Amazon Web Services. Let me open that one. So this is a map which shows so-called regions of Amazon Web Services. And you don't have to worry about opening this web page. All you need to do is just watch this video. All right. So in this map, we have two circles, blue circles. So these blue circles are already functioning regions. And while orange or yellow circles are coming soon regions. That means they are not functioning yet. So now these regions, they represent availability zones. So for instance, if I hover over this region, which is Sydney, so this region has 3 availability zones, all right? And in turn, so these availability zones represent a group of data centers. So in this example, Sydney has 3 availability zones, and these 3 availability zones consist of a group of data centers, all right? So for now, you don't need to understand regions and availability zones in detail because later on we will explore them in detail. For now, all you need to understand is you can launch a server in any of the allowed regions. So I said in any of the allowed regions because, for instance, in this one, AWS Go Cloud, you cannot launch your virtual server. Why? Because this AWS Go Cloud is for the use of the US government agencies, all right? So if you want to use this region, the AWS Go Cloud region, you have to request access, all right? So ordinary users, they don't have access to use this region. But even though you cannot use this, even if you cannot use this AWS Go Cloud region, there are other alternatives. So that means they give you enormous possibilities. For instance, you can launch one server in the US and one server in Europe and one server in Australia. And let's assume you have a website, all right? And you can forward all requests coming to your website from the US to your US server, and requests coming from Europe to your server located in Europe, and requests coming from Asian countries you forward to your server located in Australia. In this way, you can achieve lower latency. In other words, your website will work faster. Why? Because your customers will be served from the closest server to them, all right? So now let's go back to our presentation. So that's the meaning of the Go Global in minutes, all right? So you can deploy your application in multiple regions around the world in minutes. So that's what I wanted to explain with that map. So, and by the way, these are 6 advantages of cloud computing over the traditional approach, all right? That means these are not 6 advantages of AWS or Google Cloud Engine, etc., etc. And if you want, you can find these 6 advantages of cloud computing from the official website of the AWS. So for that, what you need to do is you need to go to your search engine. In this case, in my case, it is Google. So in here, what you need to do is you need to type 6 advantages of cloud computing, and you need to look for the results, and you need to look for the result which says docs AWS Amazon.com, white papers, latest AWS overview, and then 6 advantages of cloud computing. So you need to open that one. So, and then you will get those 6 advantages of cloud computing, all right? And if you want, you can read them in here as well. So that's it regarding 6 advantages of cloud computing. And that's it for this video. And I will see you in the next one.